everyone. We're Steph and Rachel, the creators of Wealth, Wisdom, and Wellbeing podcast. The spirit of this podcast is to share the conversations and curiosities that we have with a greater community in the hope that we can develop wealth, wisdom, and well-being for ourselves and those around us. Simply put, we're in the pursuit of financial freedom and opportunity, meaningful relationships and experiences, and an increased quality of life to be able to enjoy all of it. We just want to live our best lives and help you to do the same. Come with us on this journey. Let's have some laughs, learn from our communities, and get that bread.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Wealth, Wisdom, and Wellbeing with Rach and Steph. We are so excited today. We have another guest with us, and we are going to be introducing her right away. Rach, how you feeling today?
So good. So excited to have our guest on today. Pumped for this conversation. And a little bit down memory lane over here. So hoping we can revisit some stuff from 20 years ago.
20 years ago. It's even longer. So this guest and I have known each other since grade 5, and all three of us went to high school together. So this is super cool to reconnect. Without further ado, our guest today is Carly Bolin, and she is the director of W by ATB Wealth Advisory, where she's dedicated to empowering women with comprehensive support in financial and social capital. And after more than 5 years of working with women entrepreneurs on ATB Boost R, which is a former crowdfunding platform, Carly has honed her expertise in driving financial literacy, financial success, and fostering growth for women. Prior to ATB, Carly's career included work as a wedding planner and as a self-employed professional. These experiences enriched her understanding of challenges and opportunities of being a female entrepreneur. Her commitment to supporting women is deeply personal and reaches back to her mother, who was a true feminist. Carly is motivated by her desire to lead positive change for her 3 children, 2 daughters and son, and her husband. Carly's work reflects her passion for advancing women's leadership and success, underscoring her dedication to creating impactful and sustainable progress for entrepreneurs. Welcome, Carly.
Oh, thank you. What a mouthful of an intro. Thanks for giving that. It's my official work intro, or bio, I should say. So,
oh, that is awesome. And it's just, I love the part you put in there about your mom and just like her impact on that, like having the feminist perspective and like knowing Lori. I was just like, oh yeah, I could totally see that.
So I don't know, Lori. Can we jump right in? Can you tell us, Carly, just a little bit about like what that comment means or what comes up to support that?
For sure. Yeah, no, for sure. So I just always remember stories from my mom. She'd always come home and complain about when she was our age, like when we were in elementary school and junior high and all that kind of stuff, about how they had to wear skirts to school. And all of her girlfriends were like, hell no, I am not doing that. Why? Like, I can't run around. I can't have fun. Like, you got to wear pants doing that, right? So I just remember her always talking about that and wanting to drive that change. And all her and her girlfriend showed up to school in pants. And I think like they were like their dirty pants that they wore on the weekends anyways, like running around the yard and stuff like that. But they were all over it. So
I love that.
Right?
What a role model.
Trailblazers. Yeah. 100%
Right? Yeah.
trailblazers for sure.
I mean, over pants. So but it just continued with her. So
tell us, so you were an entrepreneur. I didn't actually know that about you. I had no idea you had your own business, that you were in wedding planning. Do you want to just kind of like walk us through a little bit of your journey and kind of where you got to today with ATB?
Yeah, for sure. So you know what? I was a wedding planner for a short period of time. I went to school. I did that. I did event planning or event management. And yeah, I did a few weddings. I did a few corporate events. And then I decided that wasn't quite for me. Like I liked planning the corporate piece of things, but the wedding piece, it's like as soon as you had one or two bridezillas, you're like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm not I'm not here for this. I think I'm just a little bit too chill. My husband and I got married 2 years ago, and I think our wedding planner like was annoyed with me because I was like, "Oh, I don't care, whatever." Like, I just don't care.
Yeah.
I'm too relaxed about a lot of those little things. So yeah, so that ended. I still kind of did a little bit of side work with that. Started at ATB. Um, oh gosh, where did I even start with ATB? You know what? I actually started in our call center just to start getting like my foot in the door for a bank. I never thought I'd work for a bank ever. And
Yeah.
then I just kind of worked my way through. Um, as you mentioned, ATB Booster. I helped stand up that
Mhm.
platform, our crowdfunding platform. It was amazing. And I went on maternity leave. And my role was getting abolished while I was on maternity leave. But my leader reached out to me and let me know. And I, the funny thing is, I told her I was like, I'm not coming back to this job. Just so you know, like I've been planting seeds of where I want to go within the company, and I'm not coming back. And so it was almost a
Right.
blessing in disguise to find out that my role was not going to be there. And they said, we have to find the same, like a similar role for you here. But they suggested me looking for different roles. And then I had a friend reach out to me that this wasn't the particular role that I started with W by ATB. But there was a role posted and they asked me, they're like, "Hey, Carly, we thought of you. You should do this. You've always been really passionate about women in finance and just supporting women's growth. Like, you need to apply for this job. Like, we need to break the system and make it better for women." So I applied for it, went through all the interview process while I'm on maternity leave with a small human at home. And I ended up getting the job. I got the job offer. I think it was oh goodness, it was in June. And I wasn't supposed to be back till September because my husband was going to take October for parental leave. And I said yes, and I came back in July, and Dale did the rest of the time parental leave. So it was great. It was really awesome to get back in there. I could tell I needed to start using my brain again in a different way. I became a business coordinator from when I was in the call center, and then I kind of moved along. And I just, from being a business coordinator and getting to work with a lot of different VPs and higher up executives, you get to know them. You get to understand the other pieces of work that are happening within the business. And at the time, we had this other woman. Her name was Shannon Peston. She's really well known in the women's community, especially in the Indigenous community. And she was working on that. She was a relationship manager, and she was so passionate about making sure we were doing the best for women. So when I became part of ATB Booster, we decided to launch. It was called Build Her Business, and that's where we had all women entrepreneurs come in to crowdfund together. Because stats show that women actually outperform men by at least 30% when it comes to crowdfunding. We're better storytellers. We listen better. We actually find what that niche thing that people want and need, right? We take the time to figure those things out. So that's kind of where my everything really sparked from there. And everybody knew that I was always part of Build Her Business, and then I was always pushing for it. So it worked out really well for me in terms of just having those conversations earlier on.
Sorry, I'm so glad your story is positive in this lens. Having your employer reach out to you while you're on mat leave and initiating that conversation for you to come back to a role that you might actually prefer. Because the number of stories I have heard, myself have also experienced, where you are gone on mat leave. And I worked for an employer who said I was not allowed to apply for jobs during my mat leave because I wasn't technically employed at the time. And so I missed out on an opportunity for sure that I would have, I think, been a great fit for and been probably overqualified for. And then also came back early from a mat leave for a position, but that's one I had seeked. So not quite the same thing, but I was like, I can't miss this. Like, I can't have another mat leave put me behind where I think I
Right?
should be. And then the number of women I hear their stories about their mat leaves and coming back to jobs that were very ill suited for them, but they had to be placed somewhere. It's actually really fires me up. My heart is beating so quick right now because I find it such a disadvantage for women, and it's nothing new. Like this has been going on forever, but
Yeah.
I love that at ATB you had that experience. And I'm not sure if that's something about ATB where they have maybe more gender equity. I'm not sure what it could be, but That's fantastic. I'm so glad that happened for you. And probably
Yeah.
something, your energy, likely your value there, your contribution, they obviously wanted you to stay. So kudos to you too.
Oh, thanks, Rachel. And you're so right, though. I feel like we hear horror stories all the time. And the amount of times women don't apply for jobs because they know that they're pregnant, right? Because they're worried. But I have been very fortunate in my life in terms of working with ATB. I applied for a role while I was pregnant, and I said, like, it wasn't until after my interview I was like, I gotta let you know I am pregnant. So, like, if
Yeah.
I take this job, I'm only going to be in it for a few months, and then I'd be off. And her response to me, the leader, was, if you're the right person, we'll wait for you. And that's just like, that just totally changed my life hearing her say that to me. I
I
was like,
love
okay,
that.
Is she
cool.
a mom?
She is a mom. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And likely
There's
something you'll pay forward, right? Like,
100%. Yeah.
I love that.
it's just like in organizations that are doing that approach, where does it stem from? Like this like heart-centered, leadership, and that it's just that more gender equity, like Rach is saying. And there's two things you said, Carly. Well, there's three, like the breaking the cycle and the systems, and like you needed to be a part of these projects because you were super passionate. But it sounds like as a culture at ATB, that's something that maybe even that lady, Shannon, did you say?
Hmm.
That she pioneered potentially within there. But the other thing is like how your partner, he took off time
Mhm.
to do part of the mat leave. I love hearing that more and more now, whether it's just a couple months, one partner does and then the other partner does the rest, or half and half, or yeah, like sometimes the dads are doing the whole mat leave, just depending. It's neat and refreshing to see that. And then the other part is I too felt like I was doing a lot of contract work when I was pregnant, and I had this one contract, and I was so scared to lose it that I actually held off for so long. Like after the summer, it was within a school. So I held off till after the summer to tell them, because I just didn't know what that would mean for that stability of that contract,
Yeah.
because I was pregnant. And that is a lot on a woman to have to carry. And it's so stressful. And like Rach, you said, like, I don't know. I think it might have been, maybe it would have been more supportive, but we've got in our mind more of that system you work in, in the corporate world, that's what it's going to be like.
Yeah.
It's like, how do we shift that? How, like, what takeaways do you think for the listeners, like at ATB, or, that they've maybe structured, but also other entrepreneurs? You've seen a lot of people creating their own businesses and being able to lead in a different way and to set up systems in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? It's funny you say that. Like, I mean, we've got a lot of amazing allies, especially at ATB. I see a lot of amazing allies out there. I would say my husband's a great ally, my dad's a great ally, my brother's a great ally. A lot of the men around me are great allies, but yeah, I'm seeing more and more, especially women business owners. We're seeing that they want to do the right thing for their people always. So it's really cool to see. But I mean, going back to what you're saying, Steph, I think it's like no wonder we have a wage gap though, too, right? As women, in terms of the sense of we take all these leaves. Rachel, you saying that coming back to your job, you would have been that one that you were interested in. It would have been probably a bit of a pay cut too, maybe, but it was something that you were like, okay, this lights my fire a little bit. But so many women now don't want to go on maternity leave because they're worried as they're climbing that corporate ladder that they're going to lose their momentum, right? And I'm very lucky that my story is not that. And I was worried about that when I went on maternity leave. So because I was in a really great spot. So yeah.
That's one of my top reasons for not having a third. Probably top two. The first was I did COVID with a 10-month-old and a almost 3-year-old. So that was basically the bullet in that idea. I was like, there's no way I'm doing this again, because I was home alone. Husband was an essential worker. But the second was, I don't want to do another mat leave. if I could wave a magic wand and not have to take that time, or take the time but have it mean nothing, like just be a wash, I think I would have had a third child. But there's so much fear there,
Yeah.
for sure.
Especially
Anyway.
like because we're in our 30s now too, right? Like we're on the top end of our 30s now, and we're going to be going to our 40s, and it's like we're at like a lot of us are in really great spots in our careers at this point in time, or we're aspiring to get there, right? So
Absolutely.
because a lot of us are having babies a lot later now too. So yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and when it is a hard one when you're already in that spot in your career to take that step back. And that's where, like, with, owning a business, even having that though, there's so many different things you have to juggle and different things you have to worry about. But I guess from what you've seen for some of the entrepreneurs that you're working with, and specifically women entrepreneurs, what are some of the more common challenges that people are coming to you guys for, or with, or that you see?
Oh yes. So we got 3 different barriers. We got access to financial capital, access to entrepreneurial capital, and access to social capital. So those are the 3 things we in particular at W focus on. How do we get more money into women's pockets in terms of a lot of the times women tend to choose like the higher risk to a bank, a higher risk uh, business, whether that be a restaurant, a yoga studio, something like that, right? Um, so it's harder to get money from a traditional bank with when you're in an occupation like that or own a business like that. So we're just trying to figure out ways like how do we break those barriers and say, well, let's look at more than just their personal financials. One, when they start a business, the amount of men that walk into a bank and they're like, oh, these are my projections. This is what I'm going to do. Like I had a business that did this. And, whereas women themselves are much more risk aware and we hold back a little bit. Like when we go into a bank, we know how much we really need. We tend to ask for a little bit less. And I mean, I think that probably comes from some of that financial trauma that I was mentioning to you before. But I think it's also women get a little bit more scared to have debt, which debt doesn't necessarily have to be a scary thing, depending on how you're using it, right? So,
That's an interesting point you make, that women ask for less, because don't you feel like that's not just, a woman at a bank asking for a loan? I feel like that's raises. I feel like
yes,
that's like liberties.
everything.
Yes. We're like, oh, I'm so sorry to ask you for what I'm worth or what I really need. Don't want to be a bother. Yeah.
100%.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And even some women too being like, oh, I feel bad charging people this amount of money. And there's like a lot of guilt around this money, whether it's like taking people's money, asking for money for themselves. I had a girlfriend who she just recently said, she does an amazing service. She's a herbalist. And she said she really has trouble like asking people to pay for things. Like she does a lot for free. I'm like, okay, well, let's dig into this a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I always look at it as if you keep saying yes to those things and not asking for it, you're saying no to something else too, right? And I think it's also you got to have that mentality of if you don't ask, you don't get. So that's like something that I've always lived by in terms of I'm always going to ask. And if someone says no, that's okay. And that's something like when we had women crowdfunding and they're asking people for money, I'm like, okay, you get 3 no's, you're going to have a couple more yeses. So you just got to keep going through it. There's going to be a no, and that's okay. But keep asking the right people and keep asking because nothing's going to change without asking.
I'm also curious to know, you said high risk business. You mentioned restaurant, yoga studio as examples. What's considered a low risk business?
Oh goodness. I'm always go to high risk right away. So things that are going to be around that have been around for a very long time. Oh gosh, yeah, I'm putting me on
Like
the spot, Rachel.
laundromats?
Would it be like dentistry? Like
Dentistry is, yes, actually, yes.
I don't know why
So
that came to mind, but
oil and gas businesses,
okay.
things that we have, tangible things that they can use and that a bank can use collateral against, right?
Which is hilarious because you'd think there's so much commodity price uncertainty that would be lower risk than, yoga studio and Marta Loop. I feel like that would do just fine.
Well, I mean, I think what it is they tend to, those kind of industries tend to they close down quicker, right? Or there's a higher turnover. Even construction sometimes can be a little bit of a higher risk because the amount of times they go bankrupt, close their doors, open a new business or new home building. That's really common.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there's these three like main challenges. So there's the financial, the social capital, and what's the third one again?
Entrepreneurial capital. So
The entrepreneurial.
resources, yeah.
Can you break down the difference for the listeners, please?
Yeah, for sure. So I think financial is self-explanatory in terms of money. Social would be more of that like networking opportunity. How do you get like-minded women into the same room, women in the same industries? We are big on you don't need to compete against each other. Why don't we come into a room together and lift each other up? Like your businesses both matter. So if you're both in a marketing company, you probably have very different looks at things, but why can't we come together and help each other be better? And then the entrepreneurial capital would be like resources like that financial literacy. For us, for example, we've got an ecosystem guide that we share with all the entrepreneurs of different resources throughout the province that could help their businesses. So those are kind of the things that we focus on.
Why do women compete so much with other women? Like about everything. Why do we do that? Why are we raised? What happened? Why does this happen?
You know what? I don't even know why it happened.
For
I think that
men,
actually, you know what? That's a lie.
status.
My opinion is we get stuck. We work with men all the time, right? And men are they're usually the ones we're competing against. Or you become like they're in their in crowd or like what is it? What do they always call it? Oh my God, the old boys club kind of mentality, right?
Mm.
Where sometimes women get caught up in that because they have to keep up with that, right? So I think
Mhm.
that that's maybe where some of that competitiveness comes from. Of they get caught up in the I don't know if I'm allowed to say bullshit that we
Of
see
course.
within
Yes.
that.
Say the things.
Right? Like I think that sometimes women just get caught up in it and just don't realize that they're putting down other women while they're doing that because they want to keep a name for themselves. I honestly think that's what it is, but I could be totally
Mhm.
wrong. Someone correct
Well,
me.
no, I think it's like a really interesting thing to dig into though. But if we like just look at the patriarchy and how society has been set up in our like the patriarchal society, like I think it's been a little bit to the advantage of men to pin women against each other to some respect, right? Like I think
Yeah.
that served it well to have these little things going on with women. And I think women are kind of seeing that. They're seeing through that a bit more now and like there why are we like you said there is room for you and you and you and there's room for all of us and the way you
Yeah,
deliver something is going to be different than the way I deliver something.
exactly. And you might be thinking about something that it's never even crossed my mind that might help me grow even further, right? So,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. 100%. So going back to that financial trauma piece, because just for the listeners to give some context here. So right back when we started the podcast, we had shared a little bit about our survey that Rach and I created to put out to, our social circle of women and just to get some better understanding, right, of what they knew about financial literacy and ask questions. And one of the questions was around talking about finances. Like it was a large number that did not want to talk about finances. Like I think just over 50% of our poll. And so I put that on our stories and Carly was like, well, actually, there is quite the history around women and finances and there's like financial trauma. And Carly, like in my message back to you, like that blew my mind. So would you just dive into that a little bit more?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I guess first of all, let's start off like what is financial trauma? And that's that emotional and psychological distress from money related stress. So it's there's a lot of different kind of examples. I mean, it could be things from financial abuse that you've gone through, unemployment, carrying a lot of debt, like I mentioned earlier, or even just different memories from when you're growing up. So, Janine Rogan, a friend of mine, she's a CPA, and she wrote the book, The Pink Tax. A great example that she always uses is you go back to when you were a kid and you're in the grocery store with your parents and you're at the checkout and you have to put a few things back because your parents don't just have quite enough money. Um, that is a bit of a trauma for you in terms of that you're never going to have enough money, right? So then you grow up and then say you can't make a credit card payment. You have to file for bankruptcy. Those are some of those emotional triggers that are going to start sending us into that traumatic response of that fight or flight. So
Mm.
it goes way back from when we were just little babies at the grocery stores with our parents. Like it could be so different for everybody what that looks like, but at some point in time, you've seen something that's happened like that, or like I mentioned, like that financial abuse. If you were in a relationship with somebody that is very controlling of your finances, it brings a lot of trauma. Sometimes you don't see
Mm.
till way, way later in life.
Right? It can be really like subtle.
Yeah.
Mm. And it sounds like that scarcity, leading to that
Mm-hmm.
scarcity,
Yeah.
and those thoughts that there's not enough and we don't have enough. And yeah,
To me,
wow.
it's interesting to move from a memory to the trauma piece. So the key to the trauma that it's the distress, it's that feeling. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of memories of my parents talking about money. I think we might have mentioned this before, but I have one example early on where, because my family's from Brazil, and my mom saying, "Oh, I don't think we can do Brazil this year, but we'll save for next year." So, but that to me, I wouldn't say that was trauma. That's just like,
No.
oh, my mom budgeted, even though I didn't know what budget meant. I just knew we don't have it now. We will build it. But
Yeah.
so I guess the trauma piece is that discomfort, distress. And what does that mean? What is
I,
the trauma piece?
I think again, it's different for everybody, right? Like some people, it's going to be that emotional feeling that you're talking about, Rachel.
Mm,
For some people, it causes total anxiety, where they
mm,
don't want to open that credit card bill because they're worried about it. They
mm,
don't look at their finances at all, right? They shut that piece off so that they don't go down that rabbit hole and start stressing about it. So
mm. I see.
yeah, I think it looks. I think it's just like trauma in general, right? It looks different for every single person.
Right. And like even in the house, if your caregivers, your parents, there
Hmm.
is a lot of conflict, maybe even about,
Yeah,
you heard a lot of arguing about it or bickering, and then it can turn into that like anxiety or that total avoidance.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And with these, like, how, I guess, like, even within your work with ATB or just in general, like, what has the research said of how we're making improvements here? What are the steps that we're able to take to either break this generationally or to improve this?
Yeah, that's great. Actually, I'm going to tell you a quick data point here.
Yeah.
46% of people feel stressed about their financial situation while they're sitting at work. So, like, that's huge. That's almost 50% of the population feels stressed about it. Yeah. Yeah. Super your
Oh,
face.
they're,
Yeah.
they're
Well,
just
how do
like
you?
sitting there working and then
Yeah.
just like
Yeah. Like,
thinking
so
about
think
that.
how much productivity people are losing, right? So there's obviously things that we can start doing to help people get past that. And I mean, really, it comes to it's got to be like learn to shift your mindset a little bit. Um, some things you can do is starting having conversations with people you trust about it, whether it's your therapist, whether it's your friends. Like, I don't think enough people talk to their friends about their money or having money. Like, I don't care. It doesn't
Welcome
matter
to
to
our
me,
podcast.
right?
That's
Like,
why. Yes, I
like
know.
Rach, it doesn't matter to me if you have $0 in your account or if you have
Yeah.
$1 million in your account, right?
Right.
Like, you are still my friend. We still get
Yeah.
along. We still like each other. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I think people also need to know you're not alone in this. There's so many people that are going through this. Um, I say open that bill. Uh, a good thing to do is deal with it when you're feeling really calm, though, too. Plan it
Mm,
out. Be like, okay, Sunday mornings while I'm having my coffee, I'm gonna finally bite the bullet. I'm gonna do it. We're gonna be calm while I'm doing it. And a really good thing to remember: money doesn't define you. Your net worth is not your self worth. I think that's like a big one.
hmm. Oh, I
Is
love that. I
right?
love
Yeah,
that. Your net worth is not your self worth. Enter
yeah.
caption, screen grab. That's so good. That's so good. Yeah. I also
Mm.
love just talking about, start talking about money. Open the bill you said when you're calm. I have a friend who recently had a change in their um relationship, which for them meant a change in income. Um and something they said to me, I think we were planning a night out or whatever months ago, and she just said it's not in her budget. And I was like, no problem. Like, that's okay. Come for whatever part of this event you want to come for. But I thought, man, what a badass. Like, she's prioritizing what she needs to prioritize. And I wasn't hurt by it. I think she was okay as well. And I just love normalizing that type of statement too. Like,
Yes.
yeah, would love to participate. Can't do it this month, maybe 2 months from now, or never. That's not
Yeah.
something I'd like to put my resources toward, but let's do this other thing.
Mhm.
Like, I love that so much. I find it so empowering and also inspiring. Like, if you can be so open about it, so can I. I don't need to feel, I don't want to be guilted into paying for something or doing something that my heart's not behind and I'd rather not. But
Yeah.
there's no embarrassment around saying no, even if you have the money. No, I do not value this the same way you do. I will not be putting my funds towards it. I think that's
Right.
great.
And
And setting some boundaries around that, like that, it's hard for a lot of us to set boundaries and,
yeah.
with that, and just to say no, like no explanation, no excuses. But man, like Rach, I agree, empowering, inspiring, way less energy, like to come up
Yes.
with something of why you can't do, like just say it like it is, like Carly, you say, tell it like it is. Yeah, really freeing. And the more you do that, the easier it becomes. It's like a muscle. You got to kind of use it and then build that. Going back to the nervous system regulation, I really feel this is such an under or overlooked area. I don't think people realize how key nervous system regulation, learning how to calm your body, calm your mind, come into a place of groundedness where you're not like up here all in your head, running around like all frantically, or like totally shut down and can't even, like, you're just like in freeze mode. Like, to be able to get yourself regulated, to approach your budget, to approach a conversation about negotiating your worth. Not that your worth is negotiable, but you know what I mean. Your raise at work, or coming in regulated for an offer for financial capital at ATB or whatever financial institution, Any talks that you guys have, like, or any tips, Carly, that you might have around, like, is that something that's talked about when it comes to this area?
I mean, when we work with like women entrepreneurs in particular, we do talk to them about that and what their feelings are and where those rocks have been. I mean, that's how we came up with the 3 things that matter to women, right? We surveyed a lot of business owners to find out what was keeping them up at night when it came to running their businesses. Just women in general too, right? I think a big piece too, I think about financial literacy too. We just got to educate ourselves more. I think it's so different. I'm so jealous of kids in school now that they learn about money in school. We didn't learn about money in school at all. So, like, junior achievement, like, bravo to them being in schools and teaching them. Where was that
Oh,
when we were growing up?
I think you have to tell us a
no.
little
What?
bit
Yeah.
more about this, because this
I'm
is
like,
the first
what?
time I'm hearing about it. I want to know what junior achievement is. I need a contact.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening? Tell us more.
Yeah, so junior achievement is all around North America. I'm fairly certain it actually started in the States, but they've got a North chapter and they've got a South chapter here in Calgary. And I just recently met with the CEO up in Edmonton. And so I learned a lot more about it, and I had no idea. So, of course, people come to JA, they volunteer their time to go into schools to teach kids. So you would sign up with JA saying, hey, I really want to teach this grade. They give you the learnings. They teach you how to teach that class, which is amazing. That's like extra education for us too. And then you sign up for different schools. And again, they got to set up a business. And then they actually made a real product. And then they got to go to the JA Hall of Fame for business owners. And all the students that started their business come and do a demo and they sell their product. And then they go through closing their business. So it's just like such a cool
Wow.
experience for them to learn, and many of them become entrepreneurs later on in life. So it's really quite cool.
Wow. Can I sign up for that program?
Yes, I'll send you a link. They're
Sign us
always
up.
looking for more. They're
Awesome.
looking for more volunteers always,
That's
or even for
very cool.
yourself.
Yeah. Well, senior
No,
achievements.
but I would love to look at that though, and just to see the involvement, because I would spread the word. So our daughter's 5 and we're just starting our financial literacy journey with her. And we're reading this book right now, Raising Financially Fit Kids. And it's been empowering to start somewhere because, like you say, we didn't learn about this in school.
No.
My parents didn't really talk about money. Like my mom now, she's just totally even switching her mindset, like even with this podcast and opening up and talking about how embarrassed she used to be. And like she's publicly putting this on there, like on our comments and stuff, because it's a hard thing. So for me, as I've been on my journey, I'm like, we've got to set our daughter up. It's not enough that we've learned. We need to pass this on so that future generations have this, and I can't expect school boards to do that. Yes, would that be really helpful and like would I advocate for that? Yeah, but to hear about this program, Junior Achievement, wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Their goal is to get into all schools so that they're able to make sure all teachers are well equipped with it and that they're not having to teach that too, right? On top of everything else they do. So, I mean, I had no idea it was in my son's school. One day he came home and he's like, "Oh, we learned about this for money." I was like, "Wait, what? I just met with this person." And I was like,
so cool.
He's like, "Yeah, it was with Junior Achievement." I was like, amazing. I love that. So, yeah.
That's fantastic. And what are you guys doing, just in the industry you're in and your role? What are you guys doing in your household? Do you have certain steps you're taking? Like, and where did you learn this for yourself, Carly?
Oh gosh, where did I learn it for myself? I mean, I think, Steph, I'm similar to you. My parents never really talked about money. Um, it's funny. Like I always know that my mom made more money than my dad because she was a social worker. My dad was a mailman, that's totally fine. I think it's great, but like I think that was also the feminism piece too, right? Like knowing my mom was like so strong and making those decisions, right? And yeah, but in our household, we're just honest about things of talking about the cost of different things. Like, I mean, gosh, our kids play all of the sports. My stepdaughter is in club volleyball. My stepson does baseball. He does hockey. He was being a goalie and a player for a while. Willow wants to do all of the things too, our 3-year-old, right? So it's just kind of talking about budgeting through things and just what's realistic and what's not realistic. Like, yeah, I wish I could put you through all of those things. That would be amazing. I mean, we're really lucky with my 2 stepkids. It's split costs for everything. So that makes it a little bit easier to swallow. But when did things get so much more expensive for sports? It's crazy.
And people pay. And I'm with you. I don't know how people afford it. We're kind of the same way. It's okay, we can do this, but that means you have to choose. We can't do both, or you can't have both. Or I was away last weekend in Arizona and I came home, the boys had new toys and I calmed myself because I wanted to rage, but I didn't. And later found out that the boys wanted to go to the toy store and Aaron was like, "All right, grab your piggy banks." And they had their little bags of money and they paid for their shit. And it's the first time we've ever done that. We've talked about how much things cost, but they had to give the bags of money, because it's a Ziploc bag full of like toonies. And I was like, wow, I can't believe you did this without talking to me and it was your idea. Like, oh, okay, yeah, that's pretty fucking cool. But so we are just trying to have that open dialogue. It's not a secret whether we have it or not. I don't think the boys know, but they understand that things cost and it's a trade. So yeah,
I love
that.
We're similar with that too, Rachel, in terms of some things. All of our kids have bank accounts. Obviously, our oldest, she's 13. She's got her own debit card. I remember one time she messaged us after she got her debit card being like, "Is the money reloaded on my card?" We're like, "That's not how it works, honey. Once you hit 0, there's no more. It's not like a credit card." But yeah, no, it's just teaching those things. The amount of times we would go to stores and they'd be like, "Oh, I really want this." I'm like, "Okay, this is how much money you've got in your bank account. So is it worth getting it or do you want to save for something better? Or do you just want to save it?"
Carly, I'm so interested to know how you feel about credit cards for kids.
For kids?
Or teens.
I mean, I personally feel kind of mixed on it. Mixed in the sense that I don't think they need one yet, but also learning how to have to pay things back too. That they've got the credit card, they don't just get to spend that money and that's it, right? Versus like your debit card, it's like if you have no money, there's no money. Versus the credit card, none of my kids have credit cards. I think if they ever were to have one, it would be probably one of those emergency ones though. If they
Mm-hmm.
were stuck in a situation, like say once our eldest gets her driver's license and she's 16, something happens where she runs out of gas and she doesn't have any money, right? Like that piece, I understand having things, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it.
Part of me is
How do
like,
you feel
Right?
about it?
Yeah,
well,
can you expand on where that question's coming from? Like teenagers with credit cards?
Oh God, so many have them now, Steph.
yeah,
So many.
I'm in a world where parents are like, here you go. Don't spend too much. Like, and I'm
Okay,
just
first of all,
what?
I'm just going to jump in. No, I'm taking a strong stand. You're setting your child up for failure. They don't have a fully developed frontal lobe. Girls till like 20, men till like 25. You cannot make rational, logical decisions and manage that. That is so much pressure to put on your child. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
Now, there are steps I think that are important to work up to that to understand credit cards, but to give them their own credit card, I don't know. I'd need a lot more information of the reason why the family thinks they're choosing to do that.
I love when you get fired up. Part of me is just like, my kids don't know how much I make. And so for me, and I think until you start working and see your gross and then your net, all the shit that comes off of that paycheck, I don't think it's fair for you to spend someone else's money like that, because I don't think it lands. And then let alone what Steph just commented on, like development wise, not quite
Yes.
there. But I don't know that my kids at 16, 17 will understand, oh, okay, if I spend this, whatever, $100, that actually means mom had to work whatever the time is to make that, right? Like, I don't think they will get that. And so for me, without being in that stage, obviously now, I don't think I would do that. And part of me, Carly, when you said, oh, if my daughter, runs out of gas, in my head, I was like, those boys will walk and they will never make that mistake again.
Natural consequence,
So
right?
true. Maybe it's because I'm the one that's always like risking on empty. So I'm like, oh gosh.
You're like, that might be
I'm
me.
that too. I go all the way till the end too. Oh. And I think there's a bigger thing with the generation, with parenting that, we want to give our kids more and just something different than we had, and which is fair. And there are ways to do that, right? But at the same time, we kind of that's a breeding ground for entitlement.
Agreed. But I think to go further on that stuff, like, why do we have to give them more though? Like, we look at us today. We're in great spots. So there's no reason why we need to give them more. Like, let's teach them what the dollar is worth. I mean, it doesn't help that there's so many athletes and celebrities where their wages are always leaked, or you hear that so and so signed like an $89 million contract. For the longest time, our 10-year-old, who, like, when he was much younger, always thought that every adult made at least $1 million a year. Like, at least I was like, oh, I wish, buddy, I wish, right? Like, but when they see stuff like that, they don't understand, and it's just our job to help them and be like, okay, no, that's actually not realistic. There's quite a range of what people make.
And it's interesting. I think we can give them more, but more what? More time, more experience, right? It's those types of things. It doesn't have to be more things. Right.
So much grace for parents. I don't think they're fully thinking it through, but I think we're kind of trying to buy our kids somewhat, because there's some guilt. There's some guilt around. A lot of us work really, you got a high paying job. You're working a lot of hours. You might not be present at a lot of those social events, sports events, those things that, the school things. So we try to buy our kids. And this one makes me emotional because I think it's sad, because I don't think parents yet realize what impact that's going to have, not only on their kids and their success, but on themselves. I do feel there'll be a lot of regret around that.
Yeah. And it's easy to get caught up, right? Like, I mean, Carly, you're a director at a financial institution. I feel like there's always a lot of pressure to continue to move up or put time in or whatever it might be. And me too, oil and gas. I kind of like that. Like there is part of me that truly enjoys being a part of that energy, if you will, and kind of being in with peers that have that same fire and that same desire to really contribute and go above and beyond. And sometimes it's hard to take that hat off and go home and actually be satisfied with my life at home, because it's
Yeah.
not the same. It's not as satiating sometimes. Even I feel like I sometimes have seasons of that. Like right now, I don't actually care to be home very much. I feel more energized and inspired and motivated at the office. But I know it's not always like that. Like we just had our first camp of the year and I loved being with my kids. So now I feel like I'll probably come out of kind of that corporate hunger side and into okay, I just want to be with my family. But I don't feel like that all the time.
And we shouldn't feel guilty about that though, right? I think we're showing our kids that we can have a great job and enjoy what we love what we do, right? I think that's obviously the goal for all of us is you want to love what you do. You don't want to be doing something that doesn't make you happy. But I think that shows our kids like, hey, I'm not trying to forget about you or I'm not trying to do this, but like this is what's making me be a better mom to you because I'm doing something I'm passionate about.
Mm.
And then when they're older,
Mhm.
they'll have the same kind of drive that we have, right? Like we
Oh,
just want to make sure, especially our daughters, like, come on, like you got this,
Mhm.
girl.
Yeah,
uh,
modeling that ambition. I think there's just like that balance of modeling the ambition. And this is like totally in the thick of it for me right now. Cause I definitely was like hustling and like setting up all the things. And then, burnout is like a very real thing. And, I'm still even trying to process that for myself. But that really forced me to slow down and pivot. And so maybe we could speak to burnout here. I know we have a couple other questions, but just one thing too. If you are in a parent that's in the thick of it right now and you are you're very career driven, you're being ambitious, your kids don't need your presence 24/7. Research wise, just to speak on that presence and connected time without your phone to be there 10 minutes a day. It does not like have to be all day long. If you can have 10 minutes with each of your children per day, no phones, not asking questions, not berating them about, what's going on, but just to be with them and to fully see them, you're doing great. Just as a reminder there, because
I love that.
I think there's a lot of pressure.
I've also heard doing it right before bedtime too. So that when they're going to bed, they feel regulated, they've been with you. I've seen that that's a really good thing too for them.
You've nailed it. First 3 minutes upon waking, first 3 minutes after school, and last 3 minutes of the day. But yeah, Gabor Mate has a lot of work on this, and Dr. Ammon, brain health doctor, I think out of California, lots of really good research around.
But no, you're back to your burnout though. I think we all go through it. And when you say you're hustling stuff, like I hate the word hustle because it makes me just think like we have to be doing so much. And it's just like, it's almost starting to have like a negative context to it in terms of like you have to do so much that you burn yourself out. And we don't want that. I think at some point in time, we've all burned out in some way, shape, or form. I know you ladies have talked about this on your podcast in terms of that burnout, and it sucks to go through burnout, but I think sometimes you have to hit burnout at least once to understand what your triggers are, what's going to lead to your burnout too, right? That's kind of, I guess, a double-edged sword on that piece, but no, I think
And
I don't
then
like that hustle because of that.
to understand too,
I
something
agree.
that I'm learning is burnout isn't just that time that you have burned out. It's like then you have to work back from that spot. And I find that is its own journey.
Yeah.
It's almost like as long as it took you to actually burn out, it will take you to come back to some type of like positive equilibrium. That part has been interesting to me, and I'm still learning about it, but it kind of infuriates me because I'm like, but I already experienced the lowest low. Why the fuck am I still climbing out of this hole? Like, I just want to be out. And it doesn't happen that way. It takes time.
Yeah. It takes a long time. That's for sure. But like I said,
Yeah.
like knowing when you're starting to see those signs, right? And Headspace did a really cool video about burnout. I don't know if either one of you have seen that. And it's like that death of 1,000 paper cuts. So they talk about micro, macro, and meso breaks and making sure you have those throughout the day, throughout the month, throughout the year, and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's like when you get that email, when you're starting the burnout, when you're starting.
So
Yeah.
what do you see like common with female entrepreneurs, maybe who are moms? Does this come up a lot about burnout, or a lot of the women just getting started? Or
Yeah, no, we definitely see burnout with everybody, unfortunately. I mean, unfortunately, sometimes women close their businesses because they're so burnt out and they're just so run down, right? And it's just kind of like, how can we take that pause to reflect on that and just slow down a little bit, right? That's what we really need to do. As Steph, you're saying, like you feel the anxiousness of having to respond. I'm the total opposite when I'm starting to burn out. I procrastinate like the simplest things that would take me 2 seconds to do. And then I sit there at home, like at the end of the day, and I'm like, oh, I should have done that. And like, and then I beat myself up about it, right? So it's just,
yes.
yeah, we see it everywhere. It's especially women because like we have the mental load at home too. Most of us are probably
Well,
making dinner after the end of the day or hanging out with the kids or when there's a sick day. How many of us take the day off to be with our kids during COVID? The amount of women that stopped working, what was it? Oh God, it was a very high percentage of women that ended up being the caregivers at home for all the kids doing the schooling. So no wonder we burn out from COVID alone.
And like with how long it takes to come back from that, like, I don't know, just couple years even just to get out of the fog of all of that and like the burnout and
It's like you're relearning. It's relearning something that should be very intuitive or something you've done for however many years. And it's like, oh, now I've forgotten how to take care of myself, or now I've forgotten what I actually need to relax, or what I like to do in my free time, or that I like hobbies. Like, you're out of that, whatever rat race it is for you. And figuring out what you actually need to be, your whole self, and not just doing shit for others, which sounds so simple. Like, how do I not know what I need to like fill that cup? That's ridiculous, but it's true sometimes.
It's so true. It's so true. I mean, I feel like lately I've seen so many of the gifts of like, my husband told me just to calm down. He solved all my problems. Like,
right?
but it's kind of like, could we pause for a minute and like, girl, you don't have to worry about that. Right? So
yeah, the pause,
that actually
just taking slow down.
Fires me up so much though. When my husband tells me to relax or calm down, I want to murder him. Just like, don't you think I'm telling myself that I don't know what to do. I don't know what that means. It makes me want to poke his eyes out.
Yeah.
Also because I know he's right. But so
right?
He doesn't listen to this. He'll never know.
Yeah, that's like yours and my different temperament to Carly's. Like, probably, right? Like, Carly's way more laid back, and then we're a little bit more like type A. So what works for one person, I'm like, no, you should, if you want to slow me down, you gotta, like, I don't know, take me for, like, let's say we're going for some good food.
Right? Yeah. Nourish that part.
Yes.
Totally.
So, Carly, I think a lot of our listeners, they're very interested in, of course, financial literacy, investing, and also entrepreneurship. So we have a few listeners that are kind of on the fence for, they've got a little bit of a side gig going on, and they also have a full-time job, but they want to go and start moving in, or they have a part-time job with a side gig and they want to start moving into the direction of entrepreneurship and really getting into that. Do you have any practical steps or suggestions or resources you want to send them to just on how to get going?
Oh, geez. I mean, if you go to our website, atb.com/women, we've got tons of resources there in terms of those things. You saying that is like my favorite moment for women when they decide to leave their corporate job for their business. It's like, oh, every time I get that email of like, I did it. I put my notice in today. I'm like full blown. I'm in it. Like it warms my heart because they feel comfortable enough. They feel they're in a good enough spot that yes, they might be losing that $100,000 paycheck they were making every year, but now they are doing what they want to do and that what they love to do. There's so many great organizations out there that help with that. Like AWE is an amazing one. That's Alberta Women Entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
The Women Entrepreneur Knowledge Hub is a really great place too to check out. I'm pretty sure on our page we have all those people linked in there because they're our partners and we work with them regularly. So yeah, there's a lot of great things out there and great organizations that help them.
Wow. Awesome. That's
And you're
super
all lucky
helpful.
here in Calgary. There's YW Calgary. They've got, especially for a startup, they've got an amazing entrepreneurship program. So yeah, a lot of people stay in that limbo for a really long time though. So
And what's holding them back?
Absolutely.
Benefits,
I think it's,
stability.
yes, I think it's all those, but Rach, I think it's also just that they're scared. They're just
Mhm.
100% scared to just be all in on, because that means you're 100% in on yourself, right? And you might have that confidence for yourself, but you're just like, oh gosh, that stability is still there. Am I going to be able to provide for my family? Am I going to be able to do this, right? So it's just that fear of everything.
You know, we've been talking a lot. Well, I think it's a lot, but maybe I think about this more than we talk about it. Could just be in my head about how you could be afraid of, you know, the unknown, the fear of failing, whatever it might be, but you also might be afraid of like how fucking amazing you might do and the success that you will find. I think
Yes.
that part is almost scarier. Like, am I actually this powerhouse? All the things that I've ever wanted, could they potentially come true? For some reason, I think it's so scary to believe that. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think that's why a lot of businesses stay in they don't want to grow yet. They just kind of, they know if they take that next step, it's going to explode for them, right? And yeah, we've seen that a lot too. And we've pushed a little. You got
Oh, I
this. We
love
know you
that.
got this, right? Like,
Yeah.
what's the worst that happens? We have also had some people being like, I'm doing this, this, and this. We're like, whoa, 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 whoa. Slow it down a little bit too, because you don't want to outgrow yourself that you put yourself out of business too. That's
Right.
unfortunately the flip side too, is if you're making a product or something, for example, and you're pre-selling all this stuff and you can't keep up with the amount that you're selling, there's a lot of things you have to consider. So
Yeah. Side note. Has hoo-ha been like all over your feeds? Yes.
yes,
Hoo-ha?
Steph?
all the time.
Yeah.
For their demographic, I guess.
Right? Just like these, middle-aged
Yeah.
women. But that's who comes to mind is like, how are you keeping up? Like, what are you doing? How are you providing the
Yeah.
inventory you need? I
What's
don't know how they
hoo-ha?
do it. It's a mineral underwear. Also, we're not paid hoo-ha, so if you get lots of views from this, send some hoo-ha underwear our way. I have stuff in the cart, but I'm not not quite ready to pay.
Same, Rachel,
Yeah.
same.
So, but it's a mineral underwear. They were on Dragon's Den, I think, or Shark's Tank, one of those.
Oh,
Yeah.
And yeah, it's all about like health for your vagina,
Your lady
I
bits,
guess, or
yeah.
your labia, whatever it
Wow.
might be.
Yeah.
Vulva, I think, is the correct terminology.
Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Let me ask my medical brother.
Yeah. We'll put
Oh,
up
there
a
you go.
diagram. We'll put up a little diagram later for everyone to know the parts. But yeah, that's just what I thought about. Like, should hoo-ha slow down? I don't know. Regardless, we continue.
When you are a business owner, make sure you've got an advisor that you trust that's going to lead you in the right direction. Wherever you decide to bank with, make sure you've got somebody that's in your corner, an accountant in your corner, all the people. Make sure you've got that team behind you.
Yeah,
Good
and I
advice.
guess like that's great advice. And I think because your role as the director of W and like being on the wealth advisory, what does that look like? So what kind of services do you guys offer?
Great question. So what we do with our team members, so we just moved over into our wealth advisory. We used to just be with our business advisory team. But what we're doing is gender intelligent and gender bias training with all of our advisors so that they're able to deliver that unconscious bias experience to a woman. Because banking was made for men by men many, many years ago. It was only, what was it, 50 years ago that a woman could get a loan on her own? Crazy. It was even less than that for a woman to get a business loan. I think it was 1989 for a woman to get a business loan by herself. Like that's in our lifetime. So it's really crazy. And it's just knowing that women have had so many barriers to get their own bank account or just do things on their own has been the reason we started at W. And like I said, doing that gender bias and gender intelligence training has been a huge differentiator for them so that all of our advisors see her, understand her, they connect with her when they're at the table so that she's not feeling like she's not being heard. I think a lot of times when a woman goes into a wealth advisor meeting with her husband, how many times do they talk to the husband and not the wife, right? And we really want to break that cycle for women so that they are understanding the same thing or they're not going home with their husband after and saying everything to their husband, right? We want them to feel empowered to have that conversation in the room versus not wanting to, or God forbid they separate with each other or their partner dies, right? You want to make sure you still have that person there that's there to support you and have that relationship with you.
Wow.
Absolutely. And I think just that theme too of wherever you're going to some professional who's not fucking listening to you is across financial, medical, like
Car salesman.
oh my gosh. That was our example. One of the first cars that we bought together, Aaron and I, we go into like, we're looking at the car, we sit down, we're ready to sign the papers, and the salesman is just like over to Aaron, and Aaron's like, I'm gonna go watch the kids. She's the one you want to talk to. And he was like, oh, and then like turns over. And right away I was like, fuck you, buddy. You are not going to do well in this negotiation. Like,
Yeah,
no.
you're like, guess what? I'm going to buy a car somewhere else. Same car at the other dealership.
You
Bye.
know, have you seen the Michael Jordan documentary, The Last Dance? And anytime he talks about someone who's kind of like wronged him or rubbed him the right way, he always says, I took that personally. And then something happens where he like exceeded the expectation. That's how I felt. I was like, I'm going to take this personally and I'm just going to blow you out of the water. But
Yeah.
it happens to us all the time. All the time. Steph, I know you had a recent experience kind of with the purchase of some property. It happens all the time.
All the time. So yeah, we're
Yeah.
just trying to break that cycle. We had to start off small and we're continuing to grow. There's only 2 of us that are on our team. So
Oh my
it's just,
gosh.
we work with our advisors. We work with an amazing company of the UK that does all the unconscious bias and gender intelligence training. They're like the best, known as the best ones out there. And they've done a lot of training for other FIs outside of Canada. I mean, we're lucky that we're the first FI to do it in Canada. So, and hopefully they can help us lead the change here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and that's neat to see ATB being that first in Canada to take those first steps. And I know I actually had a bit of experience with being part of, I think it was the ATB startup. I don't know if it was Boost, but it was one of the programs, and just being a part of the conversation, connecting with entrepreneurs, probably about, I don't know if this was just before COVID, maybe 2019, but it was super empowering to just hear and be a part of that process and have a few of the advisors on that. So lots of great work that ATB is doing. Love to hear that. I wonder, just Carly, with the progress that's been made in these areas, what would you highlight, just as we're kind of starting to wrap up before we ask you the wealth, wisdom, well-being questions? What would you say some of the key highlights have been for making progress in these areas for women?
Ooh, I like that question. Oh, geez. I mean, for us in I would say I'm going to go from my experience right now of what we've been doing. Well, when we hit a milestone recently, having 1,000 team members, trained, accredited specialists, we call them. And just the feedback that we've gotten from the women about their advisors has been incredible. I mean, I'm sure with your own financial institutions, you've received surveys that come out occasionally when you're trying to figure out, like, oh, how are things going? We really track that survey because for us, it's a behavior change. It's not a number thing. We're not putting out a pink product. Women don't want a pink product. We just want to be treated respectfully and the way we should be treated, right? So when we see verbatim from women that what we're doing is working and that they're feeling understood by their advisor, that to me is we're doing the right thing. Things are turning to take a turn. I'm so lucky being the wealth side of things, though. We have coaches for them, so we'll see those behavior changes a lot quicker. But yeah, I don't know. I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, well, that's really exciting to just hear that right from your customers and clients that they're noticing that and to be feeling heard. I mean, that should just be a given, but we already know like that's not. So that's fantastic. Where do
Yeah.
we still need to
And
progress? Where are you
sorry,
guys
Steph, I want to
going?
add one thing though too, in terms of we recently just hosted a bunch of clients at an event. And this one client sent me an email, or myself and my partner that I work with, an email being like, "This is the first time I've gone to an event where I felt so seen and so appreciated." And we just took her to the Women in Wealth Gala. Like it wasn't even anything like super extravagant or anything like that, but we wrote them all cards like, "Thanks for coming. We appreciate you being here with us on International Women's Day," right? Like it's just because that's something that my partner Amy and I like. We love giving cards to people all the time in terms of it's just like that special touch too, right? Of hey, we see you, we appreciate you, and just getting that message back from her was so lovely.
Those personalized touches go a long way. Like people really, especially in this day of technology, the day and age of
Yeah.
everything being so automated, it's like that connection. People are just they're craving the connection.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially after COVID, right? Like we just want to be with people again.
Yeah. It's still
Yeah.
such a thing. Like we're all still trying to settle into this and reconnect. And yeah,
Yeah.
so interesting. Any other points, Carly, that you wanted to touch on or anything that came up that you were like, I gotta share this?
Well, I mean, going with your, I'm sure, I don't know, have you shared all the stats of how much wealth women own in Canada?
No.
Ladies.
Share away.
Let's
So
hear
women own,
it.
as of today, we have $2.2 trillion of the wealth in Canada. And by 2026, that's going to double to 4 trillion. So we are going to be, we're 51% of the population. We should have more wealth than that. But
Yeah.
consider it like that's a big amount, but we only hold 26% of the total wealth in Canada. And then you take another statistic, women of color only hold 2% of that wealth. So just I
That's
love sharing this data with
insane.
people. It's just such like an eye-opening thing that like yes, 4 trillion is so much money, but there's so much more opportunity for women. We're the decision makers. We 51% of the population. We're the ones usually buying the different things for our households, right? So we're the ones making those decisions. So exactly. That was it. That was my last piece that I wanted to share. It was like I have this written down that I wanted to share with both of you. So
Yeah.
Thank
if you
you.
hadn't
Thank you
seen
for
that stat
sharing that.
before.
I had not.
No, I hadn't at all. How do we get people more? I think we've talked a lot about it throughout this whole podcast, been so many valuable takeaways. But if we were to summarize kind of our conversation, how do we get more women upping that wealth number?
Starting to ask questions. I think that's so important. What is it, middle school, that we stop asking questions out loud and keep that knowledge in our heads? I think being more vocal about everything is so important and learning more about it. If you don't want to take the time to learn on your own, talk to somebody you trust. Like a lot of our advisors, whatever bank you bank with, they should be helping you with all those pieces. Or if you want to do it yourself and play around with it to get familiar, like Steph, I saw you with some of the programs that you've been using. There's so many options out there to start exploring and playing around. There's so many courses out there that you can do. And I think it's just taking that leap of faith in yourself and starting to invest in yourself. You might have to pay money to do some of those courses, but I think it's worth it for you in the long run. And I think that those are some of the steps that we need to start taking to start seeing them.
Yeah, and this might be a little bit of a taboo question. Thank you for those really practical steps and breakdown to summarize. So being at a financial institution, I know Rach and I talk a lot about advocating for yourself. You know, just from an investing perspective, I do self-directed and I've been a little weary of financial institutions, actually, just to be quite frank, because I've been in a few meetings where, because I wanted to hear the information, and I don't bank with ATB, just to be clear, but I was a little bit disappointed in just the presentation and not the lack of transparency. We'll just say that. And
Fair.
specifically in investment. So how do you think ATB stands out and differently? It sounds like they're doing so many things that are just different and like pioneers, right? Really paving the way. What are your recommendations, suggestions for people who might be feeling the same way as I am?
I love that question. That means that's not the right person for you. Shop around. And I'm not saying come to ATB by any means, but go find the right person for you. It doesn't have to be somebody at ATB. It's your money. You're the one investing it. So you make sure that the person that's across the table from you is there to invest in you and help you invest that to better your future. You want somebody that is going to be seeing you and understanding what you want and what your future looks like. So shop around. It's like dating, right? Like find that right person until you make that match. That would honestly be my biggest piece of advice. If at ATB we're not your right person, that's okay. Find the right person that's the right person for you. It doesn't matter.
I think that's so important to underscore and to add. The person that was right for you 5 years ago may no longer be right for you. Exactly what you said about dating. You can break up with them. You don't owe them shit. Like whatever you've had with them, they've gotten their cut, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's part of the deal. That's part of transacting. You do not have to stay.
100%. Like how many times like as daughters, like how many times do we go to like our dad's accountant or whomever for a long time, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't owe them anything.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. Like it's do what's right for you. And Rach, on your point there, if you have somebody that's not growing with you, then you're right. They're not the right person too. It's your advisor should be growing with you and making sure you're still growing and not just
Right.
keeping you back from everything. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
Oh,
Yeah.
those are great points. Yeah, knowledge, as we get more knowledge, likely we will want to
Yes.
pivot. And, maybe that person will grow with you. And if they're not, it's okay to switch. Loyalty, it's you don't have to just stay with someone just because. I think that's really empowering. And I know, Rach, that was a hard point for you in one of your advisors we talked about. And I've heard from a few women I've been having side conversations with that are actually still currently in that situation. Exactly what Carly, you said. It was their dad's advisors or their mom or dad's advisors. And they just, they feel this like the loyalty, like that they need to stay. So I think that's a really empowering piece of information there. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Welcome.
Let's get down to our questions. Our 3 closing. Carly, we would like to know, what are you doing for your wisdom, wealth, and your well-being?
Personally,
I love it. Personally, I personally love just continuing learning for my wisdom pieces of thing, whether it's reading different books, whatever that looks like, taking courses here and there. I am very hungry for those things. I take advantage, especially if my work is paying for it, like a leadership course or something like that. Happy to do those things. When it comes to my own wealth, just keeping myself educated. I have an advisor, but I went through a program of learning more about like doing it on your own, self-accreditation, like what it means to be an accredited investor, all those kind of things. I've been to different programs, like I don't know if you've heard of the 51 in Calgary. I went to one of their venture capital investing things, and that was really cool. Just continuing to learn, having as much knowledge as I can about wealth is so important. Well-being, like I said earlier, pausing, making sure I'm still doing the things that I like to do. Going for a run, well, that's a lie. I don't go for runs ever. Going to the gym, doing some yoga. I hate running. Oh God, I don't know why I said that. But even just like getting outside, like I love taking my daughter to the park. Like that is so fun for me, and just like playing tag with her and doing things like that. Those are just really great moments to pause. And last night as we were here in Calgary, my parents stayed with Willow. My husband and I had stayed in a hotel because I was here for work. So it was one of those like just taking the time for yourselves too, alone, to be together. So those are my things.
You get that full one-on-one time. I love that. What are you
Yeah.
reading right now?
Ooh, what am I reading right now? I'm currently reading, it's called Bragging Rights by Lisa Bragg. So that's actually a great book for some of you ladies as we're talking about advocating for ourselves.
I'm going to just put it on my list.
Bragging Rights by Lisa Braggs. Okay.
She's based out of
Cool.
Toronto. She's amazing.
Never heard
Canadian.
of her.
I'll take it.
Yes.
Carly, this has been amazing. From like a throwback, like way back when, and like just to like be connected. I just feel so grateful and blessed that we're able to do this today, and you were so open and willing to share your knowledge with us. Thank you so much. This was incredible.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. This was great.
So lovely to see you again. So nice to have you. And it's so interesting to me how time has passed, yet somehow we are still interested in the same shit. Like that to me
So
is
true.
mind-blowing. How does that happen? Like we took
I know.
completely different roads, and here we are talking about something that fires the three of us up. Is that just
Right?
women? Like, I love this. Yeah.
I think
Totally.
it's our feminist mothers.
100%.
I
You're
think we share the
probably
common
right.
thread. Yeah.
You're probably
I remember
right.
Nina too, Steph. Like, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
In different ways than Lori, but
100%.
definitely feminist, women's right, you know,
Yes.
empowerment, like, yeah. In all the best
100%.
sense of the word and label, but yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, listeners,
you.
catch this episode with Carly, and we will see you guys next time in episode 13. This podcast is designed to provide listeners and viewers with a general overview of how to start investing and growing wealth, provide value to our communities, and live a life of wellness. It is not designed to be a definitive investment guide or life guide to take the place of a qualified financial planner or other professionals. Given the risk involved in investing of almost any kind, there is no guarantee that the investment method suggested in your personal or financial life will be profitable. We do not assume liability of any kind for any losses that may be sustained as a result of applying the methods suggested in this podcast, and any such liability is hereby expressly disclaimed.